All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another match reaction. This time we'll be looking at West Ham versus Man United. They played on Tuesday afternoon or Tuesday evening if you're looking at UK time. So we'll dive into this game and talk about all the ins and outs, things leading up to the game, the formation, how both teams lined up, how they played, players to watch, who I thought was a game, the player of the match, but also the kind of like the game deciding players. We'll talk about both teams' current forms and all that. So let's jump into it. Right, West Ham versus United. One of the first things I can wait to do this reaction because one of the first things that I thought of and that stood out to me, and it'll come back again throughout this video, is I thought, man, I couldn't wait to see how United line up. Right, and so when I saw the lineup come out, I was very shocked. I was very surprised to see that United was sticking with the guys that had just played over the weekend, right? Like it was the exact same lineup, same team. And the reason why that was important for me because like in my mind, regardless of who's coaching, whatever, you have to make a change if you're playing two games and basically 4 days, so 2 days of rest, right? You only have 2 days of rest, and I said this to somebody the other day, right after the game. You know, I was kind of commenting on their thoughts on it, and I said I know that they're professional athletes. I know that they're top of their game as athletically, but they're also human beings, right? Like there is a body limitation that you have to respect. I don't care who you are, you just have to respect what the body can and cannot do, right? I know they're at the peak of their game. Some of these guys are really young, like this is what they've been doing all their lives, which is playing this sport, playing football. Still at the same time, like the body needs rest, and you can't. There's no substitute for rest and for the body being ready to go and being ready to go full throttle against a team who's looking to win, right? Like this isn't a team that's necessarily sitting back. Well, we'll actually talk about this, right? When I say a team that's not sitting back, it's not like they're like, hey, United, yeah, just come win this game, right? They're fighting and they're looking to fight back and they're looking to get a result. So at the end of the day, I was very shocked by that and I think that really was what was the decider for the game. I think that's really why United played the way that they played, why they lacked the creativity, why they seemed slow, and all those things. And people I've listened to a few people talk about sort of like their thoughts on the game, and some people are like United is so slow, and there are people I respect that I love listening to, but to me they kind of missed the point. They missed the point. Like these guys aren't rested, and you expect them to be as creative, as sharp as would be if they had an entire week off. And I'm not saying that they deserve a week off, and because other teams are doing it, but other teams have more depth and all that stuff. So it's more of a statement of truth and a statement of fact that if you're playing two games in 4 days, like those guys are gonna need rest. And if they don't get rest, you're gonna see lack of creativity, lack of sharpness. You're gonna see a team that's slow mentally and physically, just because that's just how it goes. Like you have to respect the nature of the body and the laws of the body. So I think that's a really big reason why the game turned out the way that it was. But in other news, things going into that game, right? I mean, can United get 5 wins in a row? That was kind of like the big thing, and also coming, playing the team that's lower in the table, as you can see, right? I mean, they're fighting in the relegation battle, so this was kind of a test. It was kind of like a mental test more than it was a test of who's the better side, right? I think obviously United's been better this year on paper than West Ham, and I think player and skill wise too. United's probably got the edge. Though sometimes it's hard to play. It's tough for me sometimes to say like, oh, this player is clearly better than that player. But I think United gets the edge. And in another video, I can kind of dive into more why I think that. But I think it was going to be a test for United. Can they get this done? Of course, playing their second game in 4 days, that was always going to be a factor. And the game plan had to reflect that. And I didn't think necessarily Michael Carrick took that into consideration, and maybe he did. I don't know whether he took it into consideration or not. I mean, I'm sure he thought about it. He's the head coach. But as far as the output and what team he brought out there, it it seemed that there was a disregard for the fact that no, these guys are going to be tired, and and I get, I somewhat get the idea of, hey, if it's not, if something's not broken, there's no need to fix it, right? Like, this is the squad and lineup has won 4 games in a row, so it's like, hey, like, they've won 4 in a row, so why, minus Dorgo, of course, but why do we need to fix this, right? There's nothing to be fixed here. And I think that genuinely or generally is a good application, unless you're on the brink and on the verge of actually breaking it, right? Because it's like, yeah, there's nothing to be fixed, but if you're on the verge of breaking it, then you actually need to have a different game plan, because you don't want to break it, right? You don't want to create the problem now that you have to go solve. And I think in some ways United kind of broke it a little bit, because those guys were tired, man. I don't care what anybody says, those guys get tired. They're people, they're human beings. Yes, they work out and they're in shape and all those things, but their bodies get broken down and the body needs to recover. So yeah, fight to get 5 in a row, and then and of course, this whole guy trying to get whether or not he's gonna get a haircut because he's looking for the 5 in a row. That'll be interesting. I saw a comment about this guy. He probably doesn't really want United to win, because then it gives him all the publicity and all that stuff. I don't really want to get into that, but it's I know I would not bet anything about myself, tied to a soccer team. Like, it just wouldn't happen. But to each their own. It seems like he's enjoying it, so good for him. But my players to watch, right? Mainu, of course, always going to be a guy for me to watch, and I was really looking forward to Sheshko starting the game. Of course, he scores like the crazy wonder goal at the end to tie the game up, but I was really looking forward to him starting. I thought was one of the guys that needed to start that game, just purely off of even just thinking about the fatigue and guys being fit to play. I thought he needed to start, and so but he still came in and he did his thing, and so we'll talk about that when we get to that goal. And Mainu, I just think he's been a workhorse for United, and he's a true workhorse. And a guy like that, and I know he's young. I know he's really young, so his energy's really up there and all that stuff, but he's playing in the middle of the field, so he's got a lot of room to cover and a lot of running to do, and he's been basically playing 90 minutes. So I was interested to see kind of like what his creativity was going to be like throughout the game, and just what his energy levels were going to be like, and if he could keep the same kind of form that he had in the past few games. And for the most part, I think he played relatively well, considering the fact that these guys' legs were done, right? I think their legs were done. But, I mean, I still got to give kudos to West Ham, right? Like, before we kind of review the game here, I think West Ham played a really, really great game. I thought they were really smart in how they approached it, right? When I first saw their formation, the 4-4, it's kind of like a 4-4-1-1, or you could say 4-4-2, but they stacked it up a little bit differently. I thought it was very interesting. But yeah, they're playing the low block, and they were daring United to score against them. And it was a strategy that worked really well yesterday, right? It was a strategy that worked really well with how United was coming into the game and what they were trying to do and what they were physically able to do in that game and during that game. So I thought it was well played by them. And then, like, they defended, and then once they got their opportunities, hey, they went into possession and they were trying to create something. And I thought their wing play was really good. There's I think their number 7, he was giving Dallo. He was giving him some work. Like, he was giving him some work, and I think Dallo had it. He was struggling a little bit, and the guy was a lot quicker than him. You could tell, like, his energy levels were up there. He's quicker, he's faster than him. And Dallo did make some plays too, but he earned his wages yesterday on defense. So. But yeah, no, kudos to them. I thought they played a really good game for them, and it seems like they're. I haven't seen much of their games, but based on what some of the talks were, it seems like they've been on the trend. They've been trending upwards as far as how they've been playing and the results that they've been getting. So kudos to them. I could see why they've been trending upward based on how they played yesterday. They were very, very disciplined, and they tried to take their chances when they could, and they had their one opportunity and they took it, and that was great for them. And they had a few late opportunities too where they could have really sealed the game, but they missed it. But good for United that they kind of they caught breaks, and then Chesko comes in and does what he does. But we'll jump into the review here and kind of like go through the highlights and just see some of the things from the games that I would have missed from just my overview of it. Yeah, so yeah, I thought so. Oh, it's funny because the way that the Google kind of had them set up is different than what the broadcast had them set up. So they had them in 4-2-3-1, just like United. Although I don't know if I remember seeing like thinking that they were actually playing a 4-2-3-1 during the game. But I know, yeah, they were definitely playing a low block, and they were trying their very best to not let United just kind of go in and have their way in their final third. So yeah, I missed the first few minutes of the game. I was driving back home, so I missed a little bit of the a little bit of the game, like the first 5 minutes or so. Looks like, let's see. So there's a corner here that United is defending. So maybe this is probably the only thing I missed here. I wonder what happened here. But yeah, throughout this game, never did I feel like, oh yeah, United's got this in the bag. Like they're in total control. You could see they weren't. Although they have the talent to be. Oh, punch out by Lamens. They have the talent to definitely be in control of a game like this. But again, I think the fatigue. It's just you can't undersell it, and you can't underplay how much of an impact that has on these players, and it certainly showed. So okay. Oh wow. So I did see this in the ninth minute. I think the offside flag went up when Bruno gets freed up and he tries to chip the goalie, but the flag was up. Yeah, curling shot. Lamens does really, really great to save that. I mean, it was good extension. And it was kind of like at a decent height for him, so not too bad for him to get that save there. But again, Lemens have been really great for United. I think his consistency, his effort, his aggressiveness to come off the line, and just really being a leader back there really helps United to be confident in defense. Right, I think that's been very true. Yeah, and then in the 20th minute, right, you have this set piece play on the corner kick where Luke Shaw gets freed up and Wan-Bissaka he clears it off the line. You wonder how much he actually knew about that. Didn't look like he knew too much about it, but he clears it off. And they say Johnny Evans is the guy who's in charge of the set pieces for United, and yeah, yeah, I think he's doing good. They're creating really effective chances on the set pieces. Of course, they scored a nice one with Mbumo last week off the corner kick, and it seemed like a similar play to Luke Shaw. And without Wan-Bissaka there, that is ending in the back of the net. But yeah, very very interesting game overall. It's just I think, and I think this is the big key too with a game like this, because United is, because these guys are very tired, right? Like they're extremely tired. They sort of like, talent and skill wise for that game, they seemed like pretty even, right? Like it was like very even match, but honestly, it was, and I wonder when the last time was that West Ham actually played a game. So I don't want to give United credit here if West Ham actually had the same type of break, because Let me see here. Because it would be very interesting to see when West Ham actually played their last game, because that may. Well, okay, so I guess, yeah, well, I guess West Ham actually, they play on Saturday as well. They were played on Saturday and they won 2-0. So, yeah, I mean, I guess it's not just a United thing. It's real. I guess both teams were kind of off, and I wonder what kind of lineup that they played with. Let's see. West Ham's. Yeah, it looks like they played pretty much with the same guy. So, yeah, they lined up pretty much the exact same, except for Wilson came off the bench for them against United versus actually starting. So, very similar situation. And so, yeah, I think both teams, both teams looked pretty even. And I think United. United looked even because these guys were kind of their legs were shot. I think both teams at their best, United probably gets the edge. I'm sticking to that. And to be fair, I didn't know West Ham actually they had played that they hadn't played that they had played a game over the weekend as well. So both teams are kind of like in a similar situation, but they're both on equal playing field when it comes to their recovery, and yeah, it made the game pretty even. Mano gets that cross into Casemiro. Wonderful cross. Just great vision for him to even see that. I know it's called offsides, but still, it's for him to be able to see that and make that pass. This has been a few times now that Mano he's been making those types of plays where he's been seeing the field and taking his chances, right? He's taking his chances and he's trying to be creative. He's trying to create something out of nothing. And that's what he tried to do there, which kudos to him, because I think United will need that, because that's what Bruno Fernandes used to do, and obviously he's playing at the 10 now, so sometimes he's more like on the receiving end. And Bruno, I think naturally he wants to be able to create, so he'll drop back to try and create. But I think now you'll see Manu have more opportunities to be able to create here and there, and so that'll have its own impact. But yeah, overall, I mean, somewhat uneventful. I think what was working for United, the things that they had working for them are the little 1-2 give and goes, right? Like those were there kind of like all day, and there are a few times that they were actually able to make something out of them, and but they couldn't keep it up for the entire game necessarily, because I think those things do play into the fatigue a little bit as well. But those were there. They had opportunities there. They created chances and moments from it. There are also really cool opportunities where you saw United kind of play out from pressure in the back, and with a lot of calmness, and with a lot of just a lot of calmness, and there's like a P word that I'm looking for, composure, not P word, but yeah, with a lot of composure, lots of composure coming out the back against the pressure. I thought they did a really good job of that throughout the game. So that was really cool to see for them, because it also feels kind of new, because I think what typically will happen for United is they'll kind of just chuck the ball up top, and try to basically skip through the midfield. But now they're really trying to play through the middle, which is really cool. And I think that's why Manu is getting so many touches, because they're trying to go through the middle. And so far it's working. It hasn't not been working for them. So we'll see how that continues for them going through the rest of the season. But so far it's been pretty positive for them. Pretty positive to try to go through the middle, and play through Manu and Casemiro, and eventually getting it to Bruno Fernandes. And I do think that can be a really good strength for United. Of course, they have guys on the outside that they can rely on as well. But yeah, I think that'll be a really big X factor for them if they can get both those things going. But yeah, outside of that, I mean, not a whole lot of great things happening during this game. I mean, it was just, yeah, it was a lot of desperation towards the end for United, and a lot of tired guys trying to make something happen. Even, yeah, even West Ham. I mean, I thought they had those final chances toward the end. Adama Traore, I mean, he just looked, yeah, he just looked like he was not running his best, which I was kind of surprised by because the guys, to me, he's a really fast player, but he just, I mean, he looked winded on that last one where he had the opportunity. And then, of course, Sheshko's goal, just an amazing goal. I don't know how he made, like, I don't think I've ever seen somebody score a goal like that. Yeah, that was pretty special. Very special by him. Yeah, just slightest touch, and it's the perfect touch. Yeah, not much I can say about that goal besides just praising it for how great of a goal it was, and of course for the moment that it was in. And United they get a final opportunity, and Amad Diallo, he tries to pass it across to try to get the ball to Sheshko, but too many defenders there to defend the ball at that point, but. Yeah, overall, you could see a little bit of you know, a little bit of what Carrick is trying to bring in the way that he's trying to play. You do see the style come through. I just don't think that those guys just had enough energy to actually to execute the plan perfectly for how he was trying to have them play. So, yeah, that's ultimately my verdict on that game, I'm really happy for Sheshko, right? Like I think this is he's just been a really great run of scoring goals and really making the most of his opportunities. He hasn't been starting, which I think has been interesting because he is their number nine. It's him and what's the fella's name? Yeah, I forget the fella's name with the big hair. So it's kind of it's those two guys that are playing the nine, and so it's kind of interesting to me when he doesn't get the start. But I think maybe Carrick sees something, and I think the pace and the control and stuff may have something to do with it, and maybe Sheshko's lack of confidence when he first came in may have something to do with it. Yeah, I think it's a little bit strange, but they've been winning. They've been winning without it, but he comes when he comes in, he has an impact. He's scoring goals, so we'll have to see how that pans out for them moving forward. But yeah, outside of that, yeah, a really decent game. Just looking at some of the stats from the game here. I mean, United, possession definitely because West Ham's playing a low block, so naturally United's possessing more of the ball. They're getting more passes and all that stuff. So it makes sense that the stats are what they are. The shots versus shots on target also kind of makes sense because you just have the ball more. So but they didn't do that much with it. I mean, the good thing is United didn't lose that game. The bad thing for West Ham is that they drew the game because they could have won that game. They really could have. They had chances to close it out, but they didn't really make the most of it. So I think they'll be frustrated with themselves. I think both sides will be frustrated, right? I think West Ham for one reason is that they had the game in their grasp and they kind of let it slip away. For United, I think they'll just be disappointed that they didn't make the most of their opportunity as well against a lower team. But and just not their best from that squad just wasn't enough for them that game, and so that's unfortunate for them. And I think both teams will be disappointed, but that is how the cookie crumbles sometimes. And so both teams fourth place for United, so they stay in fourth right now. Chelsea didn't budge, and they'll stay in fourth. Liverpool's not going to catch up to them, but they could have been set on points with Villa, so they'll be disappointed on that front. But that's it for now. We'll be back for another match reaction later on, but from now, have a good one.